A Shiramine 21 year? You actually expect me to pour this for you?
One pour, neat. I've been waiting a long time to taste it again.
Do you have any idea how much this bottle costs? Or that only 240 bottles exist in the entire world?
I am well aware. 240 bottles, released 5 years ago. The price is not an issue.
Not an issue? Look at you. This is a bottle for collectors, for connoisseurs, not for some walk-in in a turtleneck looking for a thrill.
The bar falls silent. Two businessmen at a corner table set down their glasses and watch. Just then, the bar back, a young woman with soft eyes, wordlessly places a glass of water beside the man's elbow. She doesn't make a sound.
Tsubaki, don't encourage him. People like that don't belong in a place like this.
Riffraff, people like that. You have a very narrow view of who belongs.
What Yoshihiro didn't know was that the quiet man in the black turtleneck was Daiki Shiramine, the silent owner of the Hokkaido distillery that handcrafted the very bottle he refused to pour.
Narrow? I simply know the worth of what I pour. This bottle isn't for someone who stumbles in off the street.
And what exactly qualifies someone to taste it? A certain tie, a certain bank balance. The distillery didn't make this for snobbery.
Yoshihiro-san, maybe we should just…
Stay out of this, Tsubaki. I decide who drinks what in my bar, and this man isn't getting a drop.
The other customers exchanged uncomfortable glances. A woman near the window quietly picked up her purse.
6 years of supplying this bar, and this is how my whiskey is honored. You've been serving this whiskey to wealthy clients for years, haven't you? Telling them it's an exclusive experience.
So what if I have? That's what makes this bar special. I curate the clientele as carefully as the bottles.
Daiki said nothing more. He simply reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, scrolling to a document few had ever seen.
Then perhaps you should check how you've been curating my distillery's legacy without even knowing it. Take a look. This is the wholesale ledger from Shiramine Distillery. Every bottle your bar has ever purchased.
Anyone can fake a screenshot. Do you think I am stupid enough to fall for that? This is a waste of my time.
On the screen, the ledger was unmistakable. 6 years of direct purchases, each entry time-stamped and authenticated with a digital seal.
You can call the owner of Velvet Cask right now to verify. Or better yet, call your supplier. The number's in the record.
He knows about the supplier, but that doesn't prove anything. This could still be a scam. I don't need to call anyone. This is my bar, and unless you can prove you are actually from the distillery, get out.
Why would someone go to such lengths? Unless he really is connected to the distillery.
Then perhaps I should introduce myself properly. I am not from the distillery. I am the one who built it.
The distillery is owned by, wait, Shiramine. Your name is?
Daiki Shiramine. And you've just spent 10 minutes telling the owner that his own whiskey is too good for him.
This is a joke. It has to be. I am calling the owner. If you are lying, I'll make sure you regret it.
His fingers left sweat on the glass as he dialed the number he'd called 100 times before. The line clicked open immediately.
It's me. Listen, there's a man at the bar claiming he's Daiki Shiramine. Don't tell me it's actually him.
The words that came back were simple and devastating. Of course it is. That's the distillery owner. What did you say to him?
He knows. The owner knows. And the way he asked, what did you say to him? I am finished.
Now pour the drink. I've waited long enough.
The bottle trembled in Yoshihiro's hands. A drop of precious liquid hit the counter before he could steady the pour.
The whiskey is perfect. Exactly as I remember from the cask.
He's not even angry. He's just disappointed. That quiet hurt is far worse than any shouting.
He finished the glass, placed a simple black business card on the bar, and walked out into the cold Ginza night. Nobody moved. The 4 walls of Velvet Cask seemed to draw closer. The few remaining customers didn't dare move. Yoshihiro's phone rang again. The owner's voice was ice. That man supplies 70% of our top shelf. If he pulls out, we're finished.
Cancel. He can't destroy this bar over one argument.
The response was swift and final. Make this right by tomorrow, Yoshihiro, or find another bar. The line went dead. Yoshihiro's eyes darted to the business card on the bar. Before he could grab it, Tsubaki's hand was already there.
Give me that card. I need his number now.
After what you said to him, what could you possibly say that he'd want to hear?
She's right. I called him riffraff. He owes me nothing. I have to approach this differently.
I'll reach out. Not for your job, because someone should apologize for real. And this bar owes him more than a way out of trouble.
She slipped the card into her apron pocket, leaving Yoshihiro rooted to the spot. The empty glass still sat on the counter, a stain of what his pride had cost. Later that night, outside a convenience store near the bar, Tsubaki held the business card under the street lamp and dialed.
Daiki-san, my name is Tsubaki Aoyama. I was at Velvet Cask tonight. I am sorry to call so late.
The bar back who placed the water. I remember. Did the owner send you to salvage his supply contract?
Number. I am calling because I believe the bar owes you a real apology, not just a business recovery. What Yoshihiro did was wrong.
Words are easy. I've heard sorry from distributors who damaged my brand before. Why should this be different?
Because it wasn't the bar that apologized. It's just me. And I am willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. Not for the bar, but for you.
Whatever it takes. You don't even know what that means. This isn't about pouring a free drink.
Then tell me what it means. I want to understand.
If you are serious, come to Hokkaido. There's a condition that can't be met over a phone line.
The line clicked. Tsubaki stared at the phone, the weight of an unknown condition settling in her chest. The bar's future now depended on a distillery in the snow. 3 days later, a train from Tokyo slid into snow-covered Hokkaido. Tsubaki watched the world turn white through the window, a single small bag at her side.
The air even smells different here. Cleaner, like the snow washes everything away.
Most people stop noticing the snow after the first winter, but the ones who stay, they learn to see its value.
He led her through the distillery, past steaming copper stills and rows of sleeping casks. The air was rich with the scent of aging oak.
The condition for the bar's supply is not for you. It's for Yoshihiro. He must memorize the names of all 12 people who make this before he serves another drop.
12 people. You mean every worker here has a part in this single bottle? I never thought of it that way.
Koji, the malt man, has been turning barley for 40 years. Hana, the cooper, repairs barrels with hands steadier than a surgeon's. Every drop holds their lives.
This isn't about money or contracts. It's about honoring people. The bar never understood that.
If you want to make things right, start here. Learn the names yourself. Stay for a while. Understand what you are serving. Then deliver the message to Yoshihiro.
Tsubaki looked at the snow, then at the man who had just offered her an apology far deeper than words. She nodded, her decision already forming like frost on the window.
Koji-san says the malt has to breathe like a living thing. I've never thought of barley that way.
Respect the process, and it will teach you. The names are just the beginning.
It's day 4. My muscles ache. But every morning, Daiki checks my notes and asks if I truly understand. He's tougher than any manager.
Tsubaki, the owner is threatening to close Velvet Cask. What are you doing up there? I need that supply reinstated now.
I am learning the names of every person who makes the whiskey. That's the condition. Yoshihiro-san, you need to learn them too.
Learn names? That's it? Fine, give me the list. I'll memorize it in an hour. Just get me the deal.
It's not a list. It's understanding who they are, their years, their stories. You can't fake that. It has to come from respect.
Respect? I've been a bartender for 15 years. I know whiskey. Don't lecture me about some romantic nonsense.
Then the bar will close. Yoshihiro. I can't make him accept an empty promise. You threw away your respect that night. Now you have to earn it.
She hung up. The distillery was silent, except for the wind outside. Yoshihiro's refusal hung in the air, heavier than any cask. Inside the warehouse, Tsubaki sat on a low stool, her phone dark in her hand. The call had drained something from her.
Yoshihiro refused.
He called it romantic nonsense. He thinks he can memorize a list in an hour and be done.
200 miles away, Yoshihiro paced the empty velvet cask, a crumpled paper in his fist. He had found an old article listing the distillery's founders.
This has to work. I'll call him and prove I've memorized them. He'll have to accept.
He dialed the number Tsubaki had reluctantly shared weeks ago. Daiki picked up on the first ring. He put the call on speaker. Tsubaki leaned closer, hoping and dreading what she'd hear.
Koji Takanaka, Hana Morita, Takeshi Ito. I've memorized all 12. Daiki-san, now restore the supply.
What did Hana repair last week? What does Koji's wife do? If you can't answer, you've learned nothing.
The line cut. Tsubaki stared at the silent phone. She understood now. This wasn't a test. It was the respect she had learned, and Yoshihiro would never find it in a Google search. Later that evening, Daiki handed Tsubaki a warm mug of tea. His voice was softer than she'd ever heard it.
You look like you've made a decision.
I can't go back to the bar the same way, but I also can't abandon it completely.
Then stay. I need someone who understands the people here to lead tours. Someone guests will trust.
You'd hire me? After all the trouble my bar caused?
You are not the bar. You are the one who saw a problem and tried to fix it. That's exactly the kind of person I want.
Tsubaki looked around the warehouse, the sleeping casks, the quiet tools, and felt, for the first time, a sense of belonging.
Then I'll do it. I'll lead the tasting room and learn every name, every story. And maybe, one day, Yoshihiro will come here to learn as well.
That night, Daiki sent a single email to Velvet Cask's owner. Supply would resume under 2 conditions. Every customer who asks for shiramine must be served, without judgment, and Yoshihiro must still learn the 12 names, in person, at the distillery before serving again. Miles away, Yoshihiro received the forwarded email. He read it 3 times, then crumpled it in his fist. Tsubaki's own phone buzzed with a message. Your bar back position is terminated. No severance, no thanks. She stared at the screen, then deleted the contact. Snow began to fall outside the distillery window. Weeks passed. Tsubaki learned the rhythms of the distillery, the weight of a freshly charred cask, the patience of a slow pour. But Yoshihiro's silence was a constant question. Then, one afternoon, a familiar figure appeared at the distillery gate. Yoshihiro stood under the snow, his coat thin, his face gaunt.
I didn't come for the supply. The bar doesn't matter anymore. I need to understand what I broke.
You've been fired.
I resigned. When I got your email, I realized the bar was never what I thought it was. I poured your whiskey for years without once thinking of the hands that made it. I can't undo that night, but I can stop pretending I am above anyone.
He looks like I felt that first night, completely stripped of pride. Is this what Daiki wanted all along? Not punishment, but revelation.
Then you already understand the first condition. The second is harder. You'll work here for no pay, just like Tsubaki did at first, until you can name not just the workers, but the reason each one stays.
Daiki waited. This was the line. A bartender who had mocked a customer for his clothes was now being asked to scrub floors, to learn names that had no fame, only dignity.
I'll do it. I'll start at the bottom, if that's what it takes. Just let me understand what you protect so fiercely.
Tsubaki watched the man who had once sneered at riffraff now kneel in the dust. It wasn't just a lesson. It was the hinge on which everything would turn. Forgiveness, not victory. The next morning, Yoshihiro stood knee-deep in grout, scrubbing the tasting room floor. His expensive bar vest was gone, replaced by a coarse work apron.
He hasn't complained once. It's almost unsettling. When did the smug bartender become the silent, determined man?
You are wondering if he's genuine. Most people never change, but you did. Maybe the bottle he broke wasn't the whiskey, but his own reflection. I wasn't always the owner. I started as a sweeper in a rival distillery 20 years ago. The master distiller there once poured my own sample down the drain and told me I'd never create anything anyone would pay for. That's why, that night at Velvet Cask, my anger wasn't for myself. It was for every worker who ever bled into a cask and was dismissed by a man who saw only the price tag.
So the 12 names weren't punishment. They were a mirror. He was asking Yoshihiro to see what he himself had once needed to see.
From the doorway, Yoshihiro had stopped scrubbing. He stood frozen, the sponge dripping, having heard every word.
You were a sweeper, and you still forgave that master distiller?
Forgiveness isn't for the one who hurt you, Yoshihiro. It's so you can stop carrying their voice in your head. I stopped carrying his. Now, do you want to stop carrying yours?
The snow outside stopped. Inside the distillery, something old and heavy cracked open. What had started as a clash over a bottle of whiskey had become a question none of them could answer alone. Could pride be exchanged for something real? A week later, Yoshihiro was scrubbing the stillhouse floor when his phone buzzed. The number was unknown, but the voice was familiar.
This is Yoshihiro. Yes, I remember your bar. A position for me.
The caller was an owner of a rising bar in Sapporo. The offer was blunt. Secure the Shiramine supply contract, and you are head bartender, triple your old salary.
I'll consider it.
That evening, as he polished the tasting room glasses, the offer coiled around his thoughts, a way back to prestige, and a knife aimed at the man who'd given him a second chance.
If I take the offer, I am no different than the man who mocked a stranger for his clothes. But if I stay, I might be scrubbing floors forever. What's real?
This cask. It's been here since the distillery started. Daiki-san. Does it have a name?
It doesn't need one. Every person who's ever touched it left a mark. That's the name. You are part of that now.
From the doorway, Yoshihiro watched them. An ache formed in his chest, not jealousy, but the wound of a man afraid he'd never belong anywhere again. Two paths lay before him. The Sapporo offer whispered promises of status. The distillery offered only sweat and uncertain forgiveness. The night gave no answers.
I've made my decision. Tell the Sapporo bar that I am not interested. I won't be their bridge to Shiramine.
The voice on the other end spat a curse and hung up. The line went dead, taking the triple salary with it. Yoshihiro exhaled.
I just threw away the only easy way back to who I was. But maybe that person never deserved to be brought back.
He found Daiki in the office, reviewing production logs. The confession didn't wait.
Daiki-san, a Sapporo bar offered me a position if I could secure your supply contract. I refused, but you should know they'll likely approach someone else.
So you came to warn me, even though you had nothing to gain. Why?
Because if I took it, I'd just be a different brand of the same man who mocked you. I'd rather scrub these floors for free than serve your whiskey without respect.
Then you've learned the first half. The second half will test whether that respect holds when no one is watching. Starting now. This is the cask where it began. The first one I ever filled. It's never been bottled. Tonight, you'll sleep beside it and report what you learned in the morning.
Yoshihiro stared at the cask. No argument, no hesitation. He simply nodded, understanding that this was no longer about proving his worth to Daiki. It was about proving it to himself. Night wrapped itself around the distillery. Yoshihiro sat cross-legged before the ancient cask, its surface catching the lamplight like a silent witness.
This cask is older than my career. It holds more than whiskey. It holds someone's first hope. How many years did it take to make this?
In the next room, by a low fire, Daiki poured 2 glasses of tea. Tsubaki sat beside him, her questions held back only by trust.
You gave him the hardest test. Are you worried he'll fail?
Failure is easy. I failed for years. The real test is whether he can sit with his own failure and still choose to learn.
He's not testing Yoshihiro. He's giving him what no one gave Daiki, the chance to be broken and still belong. Daiki's phone buzzed on the table. A message from an unknown number. The Sapporo bar is offering triple salary. Control your ex-bartender.
They're trying to buy him after he refused. If he stays, he'll be tempted. If he leaves, I'll know I misjudged him.
Maybe the test is also for you. Can you trust someone you once had every reason to hate?
Outside, Yoshihiro sat motionless, the weight of the cask and all its history pressing against his chest. The morning held the answer, but the night was far from over. Dawn bled through the windows. Yoshihiro hadn't slept. His eyes were fixed on the cask, but his mind was somewhere else entirely.
Daiki-san, Tsubaki-san, I need to tell you what I learned. Sitting beside that cask, I realized it doesn't need me to understand it. It just needs me to stop pretending I am better than the hands that built it. I have been wrong my whole career.
Words again, Yoshihiro. But those are the same words you spat out before. What proof do you bring?
Before Yoshihiro could answer, heavy footsteps echoed from the entrance. The Sapporo bar owner, a severe man in a $1,000 coat, stood in the doorway.
You followed me here. I told you I wasn't interested.
The man ignored him. His eyes landed on Daiki. He pulled a contract from his coat.
It's a full buyout offer. Triple market price for every bottle you produce, exclusive to my bar. No other outlets. Your workers would simply answer to me.
He can't be serious. This would erase everything this distillery stands for.
Outside, the snow began again, heavier than before. Inside, Daiki held the contract like a blade. The man in the coat smiled, certain of his victory, but Daiki's gaze slid to Yoshihiro, who stood frozen, waiting to see which man his mentor truly was.
Triple market price. You are offering to buy not just whiskey, but the people who make it. They are not commodities. The answer is no.
The Sapporo owner's smile fractured. He had not expected refusal. His voice turned venomous.
You heard him. This distillery isn't for sale, and neither am I.
The man spat on the floor. You'll regret this. No one in Sapporo will carry your brand when I am done. He retreated into the storm.
He can try, but this place has survived worse than a buyout offer. Now, Yoshihiro, you said you had proof. Show me.
The proof is that I am still here. I refused their money. I sat with that cask all night and understood. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn. I want to earn it, here.
He's telling the truth, Daiki. I've watched him night after night. He's not the same man who mocked you.
Then you've earned the right to stand behind the bar again, not as head bartender, not yet, but as someone who understands what he pours.
Yoshihiro took the key. It was heavier than he expected, the weight of trust not yet fully granted, but no longer denied. The snow fell silently outside, burying old wounds. Inside, 3 people stood at the beginning of a harder road, one where forgiveness was not an event, but a daily practice. 2 winters later, Tsubaki led a group of visitors through the very warehouse she once entered as a disgraced barback. Her voice was steady, her knowledge deep. Aiki watched from the still house doorway, a quiet smile on his face. She had become the heart of the distillery, more than he ever imagined.
You never did ask for your old salary back. Not once.
I was paid in something better. I found a place where I belong, and a man who sees me, not my past.
That night, Daiki led her to the warehouse, where the oldest cask rested, the same one that had tested Yoshihiro's resolve. But tonight it held a different purpose.
This cask holds the first spirit I ever distilled. It's the soul of this place, and I can't imagine it without you.
He knelt, the ring box open to reveal a band of silver and gold intertwined, like the union of 2 worlds no one thought would meet.
Tsubaki Aoyama, will you marry me? Not just as the woman who placed a glass of water, but as the woman who built a home here with me.
Yes. From that first glass of water to this cask, my answer was always yes.
They embraced against the cask that held decades of patience. Outside, the snow fell soft and deep, blanketing the distillery in a silence that promised everything could be remade. The ceremony was held just before winter's end in the warehouse among the casks. No grand guest list, only the 12 workers, Koji and Hana at the front.
I never thought I'd stand here as a friend. Daiki-san, Tsubaki-san, thank you for not giving up on me.
You gave up on yourself first, Yoshihiro. We just watched you find your way back.
Tsubaki's father, a quiet fisherman, gave her away with tears in his eyes. He had never understood the distillery, but he understood love.
I was lost in a bar in Ginza, and I found my home in a cask of whiskey. I'll spend my life learning its secrets with you.
Yoshihiro, now senior bartender of the distillery's new tasting house, poured the first glass of Shiramine 21 year in their honor, reciting all 12 names before the pour. The Sapporo bar that had threatened their legacy never recovered from the scandal. But Shiramine Distillery grew quietly, not in size but in devotion. That spring, a letter arrived from the Velvet Cask owner. Thank you for keeping the supply. Yoshihiro's departure was the best thing that happened to this bar. We now serve every customer with respect. But Daiki and Tsubaki didn't dwell on old enemies. They walked into the snow that night, hand in hand, the simple silver ring a promise on her finger. And in a small bar in Hokkaido, Yoshihiro hung a sign, "Everyone is welcome." It was the tribute Daiki had demanded, and it was finally true. A year later, the tasting room hummed with guests. A young man in a worn jacket asked for the Shiramine 21 year, his voice hesitant.
Of course. This bottle has a story, not just a price. Let me tell you about the hands that made it.
She poured a dram and spoke of Koji's barley, Hana's barrels, and 12 lives inside a single glass. The man listened, transfixed. He hesitated, then asked, "Is it true the owner was once refused service here?" Tsubaki nodded, her smile sad but peaceful.
He was. But that night taught us the whiskey belongs to everyone. That's why we pour it now.
Nearby, Daiki leaned against a copper still, watching. Their eyes met across the room. No words were needed. That evening, by the fire, she told him, "Every time someone asks for that bottle, I remember the water I placed by your hand."
That water was the first honest thing I received that night. It meant more than 1,000 pours.
The distillery had grown not in acreage, but in meaning. A place where a single glass of water and a forgotten cask could remake a life. And, in a small bar in Hokkaido, the sign still hung. Everyone, without exception, was welcome. The tribute had become the truth. Years later, on the same winter night they first met, Daiki and Tsubaki returned to the warehouse where the oldest cask rested.
Do you remember what you said when you first saw me place that water?
I didn't say anything, but I thought, she sees me, not my title. That quiet courage changed everything.
Behind them, the distillery hummed with the quiet work of 12 families who would never again be anonymous. Yoshihiro's bar was packed that same night. A young couple in worn coats asked for 2 glasses of anything he recommended. He poured the Shiramine 21 year without a second glance.
12 names. 1 cask. 2 people who saw each other in the wreckage. That's the real blend.
The snow continued to fall, as it always did in Hokkaido. But now, inside the walls of Shiramine Distillery, it no longer felt like winter. A bartender mocked a whiskey order, and a world was rebuilt. Not with revenge, but with a glass of water and the stubborn belief that everyone deserves a seat at the bar. And somewhere in Hokkaido, a sign still read, "Everyone is welcome." It was never just about whiskey. It was about the hands that pour it and the hands that receive it. A single amber drop fell from the cask that night, as if in agreement. The story was complete, but the distillery had just begun. In the still cold of the warehouse, the last amber drop from the cask hung in the air for a moment, catching the light. It held the taste of 20 years and 12 lives. Daiki and Tsubaki stayed by the cask until the candle burned low, their hands clasped like 2 sides of a single cask band. The distillery's sign, weathered by years of snow, now bore 12 small carved symbols, 1 for each worker. They had become part of the land itself. Yoshihiro turned the closed sign on his own bar door. The last customer, a laborer with calloused hands, had received a pour of Shiramine and a quiet thank you.
We didn't just make whiskey, Daiki. We built a place where people can start again. I know, because I did.
And I learned that forgiveness is a practice, not a gift. You taught me that, with a glass of water.
The snow fell deeper that night, covering the old footprints that once led a disgraced bar back, and a broken bartender to the same door. Now, only a single set of tracks remained, walking together. In the tasting room, a fresh glass of water sat beside the Cheramine 21-year as it always would. It was no longer a defense, but an invitation, and in a small bar in the north, a sign still shone under a single lamp. Everyone is welcome. It was the truth that had always been waiting to be written. It had all started with a glass of water, placed by a quiet hand, and in the end, that was the truest offering. A drink without condition for anyone who walked through the door.